that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game preview, another special Kickstarter preview, and today I'm very excited to check out Imperial Harvest from Broomstick Monkey Games. This is for 2 players, ages 10 and up, and it'll take you about 20 minutes to play. And in Imperial Harvest, you're going to be going all around a completely modular board with asymmetrical characters trying to collect delicious strawberries in order to score victory points. But you need to be careful because your opponents are also trying to collect those same strawberries, trying to chop you with their axes and trying to hit you with dangerous hydras. What am I talking about? Let's open it up and check it out. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Imperial Harvest on our handy-dandy grit mat, which turns every game into a space game. Before we get started, I do want to mention this is the promotional copy you see here, so obviously yours is not going to have pen written on it, so take what you see here with a grain of salt. So, first and foremost, we're going to get our handy-dandy rule booklet. We're actually going to get 2, technically. We're going to get a setup manual, and we're also going to get a rule booklet. So we'll look at our setup manual first. This is going to be all about how to set up your board, because your board is going to be completely modular. And if you have more than one copy of the game, you can make crazy, elaborate, huge boards, but we're only going to go over the 2-player version of the game because that is what comes in the base game. But the setup manual, you'll probably need it once or twice, and after that, you pretty much know what you're doing on there. Next, you're going to have your rule booklet. It's about 10 pages, double-sided, full color, and as you can see, it looks very, very professionally done. Tons of pictures and play examples. Very, very nicely done rule booklet. And the game itself is very simple, and the player aid cards are very well done. So most of the time, you're not going to need to go to the rule booklet. So in this game, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be going over 14 rounds most of the time, trying to collect delicious strawberries by putting them onto your different characters, and then trying to drop off those strawberries in order to gain victory points. But you're also going to gain victory points just for picking those up or for having them at the end of the game. But it's not that simple because your opponents can attack you. Your opponents are going to be trying to steal the same strawberries that you're trying to grab. And also, there are dangerous, dangerous hydras which will be floating around the water trying to attack you and, well, rob you of your strawberries and also kill you. But luckily, there's no player elimination. You just respawn. So, what does all this mean? Let's go over some of the components, then we'll get a little bit into the gameplay and it'll make more sense. So first, let's go to the board. This is completely modular. Like, everything you see here, you can pick up and flip over and move around. The board is incredibly modular. So let's go over the board and what's going on the board. So first things first, I mentioned the hydras. There's going to be hydras going around and they have the potential to attack you. So if you are ever in a space right here, 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 or here right next to that, it's immediately going to attack you. You're going to lose all of the strawberries that you're potentially holding in your slots, and then you're going to go back to your respawn. It's just bad news. You want to avoid those at all costs. They're going to be going around the river, and as you can see, there's 4 river tiles that are going to be on the board. And on those river tiles, you might notice that there are bridge tiles where you're going to be going across the bridge. At the beginning of the game, you and your opponent are going to be setting up these bridge tiles strategically where you want to set them. The other thing you're going to notice is that there are strawberries all around the board. And for the basic version, they're going to be in very set places. So as you can see, there's 1 in the back middle of every single spot, then 4 right in the center. Another thing to pay attention to on the board are these little hedges, because there's going to be hedges on the board that you cannot pass through. You can chop them down, potentially, if you have that special ability, or you can go through them if you have that special ability, but otherwise you have to go around them, which will take you more time than you would like to take, because this game will sneak up on you and end before you're ready for it to end a lot of times. So, other spots on the board. There's going to be your respawn area and where you spawn, which are going to be, as you can see, this is where these characters are spawned right here. And you're going to have the 2 different symbols of the 2 different teams there. On those spawn spots are going to be your 3 characters you have in the game. Now, this game is asymmetrical, where each team is going to have their own unique characters and their own unique special abilities, with the exception of the Bard. Both teams have a Bard, but we'll get more into special characters in a minute. The last special spots on the board I want to focus on are the strawberry drop-off spots. So this is where you're going to be dropping off your strawberries, and if you can drop off your strawberries there, you're going to gain 2 points. As I mentioned, I believe earlier, if you pick a strawberry up, you're going to gain 1 victory point. If you hold on to it until the end of the game, you're going to gain an additional victory point. But if you can drop it off, you're going to gain 2 victory points. So essentially, dropping them off can be the difference, and most of the time is the difference between winning or losing the game. So that's our board. So we went over that. Next, we're going to go over the strawberries. I mean, as you can see, they look like strawberries. They're going to be scattered all around the board. These are victory points, which you'll be gaining at during the game and also at the end of the game. Each time you pick up a strawberry, you immediately take a victory point. We have our turn order card, because this is going to go over 14 turns, and you're going to have these little things to put on top of them to keep track of them. And the game is going to end after the 14th turn, or after all the strawberries have been picked up and the silver team has taken its turn. And the reason they do that is so that each team has exactly the same amount of turns. Some other miscellaneous tiles we have, they got this extra little hedges that you can put out on the board, because the monk, I believe, the monk has the special ability where they can place these and kind of screw some people over and do various different things like that. So if you got your player aid card, this is extremely useful. This will really help you out just about every situation. It's double-sided, and it just has just about all the information you could possibly use. You're going to have a Hydra card in front of you, which is going just to remind you that if you would like, you can move the Hydra on your turn one spot. If they go under a bridge, then you can move them 2 spots. So you can have the ability to move the Hydra, but the thing is, if you do that, you're not going to be able to move one of your characters during a turn. You're going to forfeit their movement during that turn. So let's get down to the characters and what the characters do. So as I mentioned, the game is asymmetrical. Each team is going to have a bard, but this team is going to have an Imperial Guardian and a monk. Now, the Imperial Guardian is going to be able to block and also attack. He's the only character that can block. Which is really, really useful sometimes. Now, the monk is going to have the special ability to grapple, which means he can pick people up and throw them, which can be extremely helpful. Now, one thing I do want to mention on here is that on your turn, you're going to have a set number of action points. So you're going to be able to start with these 2 characters with 2 action points. However, once you pick up a strawberry, you're going to gain additional action points and also gain an additional special ability. One more thing I want to mention is that these are double-sided. This is for the basic game, and once you're done with the basic game and you've got it under your feet, this is for the advanced game. So that's going to be the monk and the Imperial Guardian. We'll take a look at the other two the other 2 characters on the silver team. We have the Barbarian and the Sorceress. The Barbarian has an axe, so he's going to be able to attack adjacent characters, but he's also going to be able to chop down the different ledges, or the grassy spots right there, which can be very helpful because that doesn't even cost an action. However, you can only do it 3 times a game. He also, when he gets a strawberry, he's going to be able to attack people diagonally, and he's going to get an extra action point. The Sorceress, on the other hand, is all about line of sight, because if she can see you, if she's not blocked by hedges, she's going to be able to move a character in line of sight 1 space, which can be really helpful. Her other useful ability is down here. When she gets a strawberry, she's going to be able to move a character 1 to 3 spots as long as they're in her line of sight. And the thing about this is, she can move them out of her line of sight. So, for instance, if she's here and then the other guy's here, she can move him right here, and then normally that would be over because she'd be out of the line of sight, but then she would still be able to go 2, 3 and keep moving him. So that's a really useful ability. Now, I mentioned the Bard is on both teams. We'll go over his ability real quick. He is definitely going to be your big one collecting strawberries because he can move diagonally. He's going to have 3 action points. He can move diagonally. If you're close to the Bard on your team, you're going to get an extra action point, which is really useful. And when he gets a strawberry, he can move 4 spaces diagonally, so he's just going to be flying around the board. Normally, you're probably going to have 3 strawberries on him by the end of the game. So what you're going to do, the unique thing about this is you're not going to be able to move all 3 of your pieces on one turn. You're going to decide which 2 of your pieces you want to move, and then the third piece is not going to be able to move. So let's just say we move our monk, and we move our bard this turn. That means our Imperial Guardian is going to have to stay still this turn. He's not going to leave our home base. But on our next turn, so we'd say this was turn 1, on turn number 3 when we play again, the Imperial Guardian is going to have to play, which means either the monk or the bard is not going to have to, and so that would mean that the monk is not he's going to be played next time. So you're only going to be able to play 2 characters per turn. What you're going to do is you're just going to move around the board, trying to collect strawberries, trying to return those strawberries to your little strawberry spot where you're going to gain additional points, and continue to move around the board, attack various different people, avoid the hydras, chop down hedges, do all sorts of things, and whoever has the most points at the end of 14 rounds, or when all of the strawberries are removed and the both teams have had at least the same amount of turns, is going to be the winner of Imperial Harvest, and that in a nutshell is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Imperial Harvest from Broomstick Monkey Games. Coming to a Kickstarter near you very, very soon. Who might be digging this game? First and foremost, if you like asymmetrical powers, this one might be for you. Both sides feel definitely different. Now, both sides have the Bard, but the other two that you're going to have are definitely going to play differently. And this is one of those games where most people are going to be like, oh man, once they play one side, they'll be like, I want to try that side and try their special abilities. Because the line of sight and the grappling and being able to chop down the hedges and grow hedges, it really does add unique twists to each side. Also, this is a very, very simple game to learn and to teach, which is always a good thing. So if you're looking in the market for a very, very simple game to learn and to teach, but that still has a little bit of a bite to it, this one might be for you. Another thing is, if you like modular boards, look no further. This one really is modular. Now, when you have one copy of the game, it's somewhat modular. But when you add a second, or potentially third or fourth, I didn't get to do that, but a second copy of the game, you can really set up this board however you want to. So each game is going to be unique and different if you want to set it up. Because, I mean, you can move the waterways, you can move the hedges, you can do all sorts of various different things, the bridges and whatnot. So if that might be for you, then you might want to check this out. But if this looks like it might be your cup of tea, be sure to click on the Kickstarter link below. Tell them Bowers Game Corner sent you. Also, in the comments below, let me know. 7 out of 10. Thumbs up or thumbs down. I like it. It's good. I will never suggest it unless they have a really cool expansion I haven't played. But I'm over it a little bit. I do still have it on my shelf because I still think it is a good game. But I definitely think it's been surpassed by a lot of games. Also, if you enjoyed this content, thanks for your time. That was the review for Imperial Harvest. For more reviews and previews, check back at Bowers Game Corner.